Hello everybody, this is Chris and this is my channel Bar911-970. Thank you for taking the time to check out this video and what I have to say. First thing I want to say is any tragedy is horrible and should not happen, and it's the family of the victims of any shooting or death that pays the ultimate price, and my condolences to the families and to the victims. It's disappointing that there are people in this world, for whatever reasons, would find pleasure or whatever in injuring and murdering other people, for whatever reasons, whether they're paid to do it, whether they're doing it for fun, whether they're on medications, whatever. All things like this should never happen. But I want to talk realistically about what I'm reading here, this propaganda and this ridiculousness of how the media uses tragedies. Now, I don't know if this is the stories that they tell you, because they're stories, once upon a time. There's a difference between story and fact. So just because something's printed on a newspaper or talked about on the television does not mean, one, it's accurate, and two, it's truthful. Bear that in mind. Just like so many people make fun of people, say, oh, you saw something on the internet, it must be true. Same can be said with news, because people can get things wrong, people can get misinformation, and if you know anything about the media, if you flick on any news media, when they report something, they're not really reporting it. They're definitely not investigating it, because if they were supposed to be what they are, investigative reporters, each channel would have their own questions. They would have their own official opinions or statements. But you notice that no matter what channel you go to, they pretty much all say the same thing. Now, if you want to think that's not planned, if you want to think that's just coincidence, you have that right. And I'm not going to change the mind of somebody who just doesn't get that. But we're going to talk about just basic things that maybe people don't understand. And I hope you will watch this with somebody that does not see the writing on the wall yet. Maybe this will help. Now, this tragedy is a tragedy. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you're straight, gay, white, black, African, English, Scottish, whatever. American, Canadian, go on forever. Nobody deserves to die at the hands of another. So let's just put that out there. But look what the news is doing. Read this headline. This is daily news. This is New York, one of the biggest newspapers in New York. Who do they blame this on? They blame this on the NRA. If this isn't flat-out propaganda at its finest. Now, I want to think about this logically. Let's take the emotion out, because the way they control people is not through logic, not sitting down and discussing things rationally, but through emotion. They want you sad, they want you angry, they want you scared, so they can jump in, pass new laws that hurt the innocent and benefit the criminal. Because let me ask you something logically. Ask this to anyone. When was the last time a criminal followed any law? You ever watch those TV shows where they show prisoners in prison? The prison shows, and I'm not going to recommend any particular one. You ever notice they have drug problems in prisons? They have problems with controlling murders in prison. They have problems controlling gangs and illegal drug trafficking and other things that get brought into the prisons, how they can't control that in supposedly the place where you send criminals for their crimes. Do you think for 1 minute these bans affect criminals? They do not. Who do they affect? The innocent people. Now, I wish we didn't live in a world where we needed protection, where we didn't need guns. But in this world, as you can see, we're not living in a utopia. We can't just close our eyes and wish away all the nuclear weapons in the world. I wish we could. If somebody can do that, please do it. So we have to discuss the world that we're presently living in. And if you think of it logically, if anybody in that area that was brutally gunned down by whoever it was, if you want to blame it on ISIS, if you want to blame it on just some idiot, it doesn't matter. But if anybody in that sad shooting spree of shooting innocent people that were doing nothing wrong. And they had a gun to protect themselves, I think the story might have been a little different. But this is what they want. But look at this headline. It says 50 dead in Orlando club massacre, and they put in bold letters, "Thanks NRA. Because of your continued opposition to assault rifle ban, terrorists like this lunatic can legally buy a killing machine and perpetrate the worst mass shooting in U.S. history." So they're blaming it on the National Rifle Association. Think about this. Now, again, this is a tragedy. I don't care if the people were gay or straight. They are human beings. Let's get rid of the labels. 50 humans died. Can we stop labeling what they are? Their sexual preference to me has nothing to do with the fact that their lives were extinguished. It's disgusting no matter if they were straight, gay, Republican, Democrat, loved Coke or Pepsi, was a vegan, or loved to eat meat on a regular basis, whatever. They're human beings. Can we at least get to that level at this point? Someone murdered them. And do you think these people just go to a gun store? And even if they did, who is it hurting, this gun ban? If they finally get people angry enough and fool them with their emotions to use tragedies for their advantage, never take it, never miss an opportunity to have your propaganda continue. It's going to hurt the people. Now, let's give you a scenario. Think of it from a criminal's perspective, because like I said, they cannot even control the prisons where they send them. There are murders in prisons. There are gang wars in prisons. There are rapes in prisons. There is illegal drug trafficking in prisons. They can't even stop cell phones from getting into prisons. That's the place you're supposedly sending these criminals. If you can't stop it there, you think you're going to stop a criminal? Do you think a criminal who wanted to go on a killing spree because of all the pharmaceutical drugs that they're on and all the medications they're on, or the governments that pay them to do this stuff, do you think they're going to look at a law and says, oh, they banned assault rifles? They have banned all guns? Oh, I guess I can't get one. Really? Are we living in that world? People cannot be this naive, can they? Now I'm going to give you a scenario, and again, take away the emotion about this, because that's what they want. You want to control people? Get them mad. Get them scared. Get them upset, because then they will not think logically. They'll just react. Oh, we got to do something. Oh, the news is all talking about gun bans? Oh, well, if they ban the guns, I guess no one will be hurt. Really? Really? Think about that. So here's the scenario. For the logical people, the people that can actually shut their emotions down for this moment and think logically. So we have to do that every now and then. Critical thinking. It's something more people should do. If you are a robber and you are going to rob a house, let's say you're on a cul-de-sac where there are only 2 houses on the block. You don't know if they're home. They might be, they might not be. You don't know. You can't confirm it. One house says trespassers will be shot on sight. The house on the other side of the street says proud gun-free zone. As a criminal, which house are you going to rob? Are you going to go to the house where you know a person has guns and will probably shoot you, or at least shoot back at you? Or would you rather go to the proud owner of a gun-free zone where you will not have to worry about being shot? Unless you're a moron, you're going to the gun-free zone. So who does that ban hurt? The innocent people, the ones that are law-abiding. Now, not everybody should own a gun. I mean, if you have mental problems, if you have a prison record, if you have a history of a bad life as far as criminal activity, you should not have the right to own a gun. But law-abiding citizens have the right to protect themselves, and people have no idea what the Second Amendment is all about. And yes, I wish we were in a perfect world where we didn't even have to discuss this and we could be beyond that. But again, we're living in this reality for whatever reason we chose to be here, We cannot ignore what is presented in front of us. And if we do, it's going to get worse and worse. I made videos about this years ago, talking about if we don't fix this, it's going to get worse and worse. It's going to happen again, and more innocent people are going to die. People have to think logically, and you will look at all the news articles that they've talked about this tragedy. First of all, they have to point out that the people are gay. I mean, yes, it might have been a gay bar, but these are human beings. Their sexual preference should have nothing to do with the fact that they were gunned down. Now people are going to be scared, and they're going to want action. And where are they going to go? They're going to go to their governments to save them. And people are going to rally, and then all of a sudden, be careful what you wish for, you may get it. And one day, they will make a tragedy large enough to where they will ban all guns, and then it's free reign for all the criminals and criminal elements. Because how are you defending yourself? And again, I don't want violence. I don't want people to be having gun shootouts. But like I said, that one gunman, however he got his gun, whether legally or illegally, because I promise you, if he could not get that gun legally, I can guarantee you, you can find many things illegally. I'm sure there are many people that have taken any kind of illegal drug or narcotic. Ever smoke pot in your life? Wonder where you got it. Did you get it legally? Probably not. So they take advantage of people's fear and emotions and take advantage of a tragedy. There are people that died. Instead of them wondering how that person got to be on a killing spree and what caused him to be that way, they focus on the tool. Well, if that's the case, then we should also ban driver's licenses. Because how many people die from drunk driving? So by their logic, I guess we should blame the car, because the car is what ultimately runs people over and hurts them and kills them. There are more deaths by drunk driving than there ever will be with these mass terrorist shootings, as they like to call it, calling it the Orlando Club Massacre, because they want that imprinted in your head so you don't forget it. So they highlight right here, assault rifle ban. They specify that it's legally by a killing machine, worse mass shooting. So they want to stress those points to gain your eyes to that. They don't want to talk about the fact that the person may be on medication. They don't want to talk about the fact that he might have been financed to do it. You don't know. You ever see on prescription medicines some of the warnings? Do you ever notice that most antidepressant medications, one of the side effects is depression? Think about how utterly ridiculous that is. They're selling you a medicine called antidepressant, and one of the side effects is depression. I mean, it's like slap your forehead kind of stuff. It's like, really? And people buy this stuff. They sell billions of dollars of it to the people, and they consume this stuff, and all the side effects either kill them, make them go crazy, or make them go on gun sprees. You have a look at most of the mass shootings, one of the biggest things they have in common is they're all on prescription medications. But don't talk about those, let's talk about the tool. So shouldn't we be banning cars? No one should be allowed to drive a car. It's a dangerous weapon. Tens of thousands of people die every year from drunk driving accidents. I'm sure it's even more than that. And that's just in one country. If you think banning of guns is the solution, then you are naive, or you're on the side that has the propaganda and what they're using it for. It's disgusting that many people can't see it. And I don't know how many times I could state it is a tragedy. It's any tragedy when 50 people or one person gets murdered. And there's going to be plenty of outlash, and you're going to have people screaming out for change, and the government's going to come along. It's called problem, action, solution. They cause the problem, it creates a reaction, and they come up with a solution. I've used this example, but I haven't used it in a while, and I'll give you an example of what that's like. Let's say you're a person that is desperate to become famous, and you don't know what to do. No matter what you try, you can't become famous. So you come up with a plan. You know your next door neighbor has a little baby, and you know that for whatever reason, every now and then, the mother and father will leave to go get cigarettes and leave the baby by themselves. Maybe it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but you know this routine. You decide to light their house on fire when the parents leave. And you call 911, and the news crew comes and films this burning building. And you realize, and you go to the cameraman, oh, there's a baby in there. I need to save that baby. And you rush in front of the cameras, and through the blazings, you come out with the baby. You're a hero, aren't you? News media and everybody did not know you were the one that caused the fire. They only see the after effect. This is what happens with a lot of these. Now again, I cannot say, nor will I say, that this was something that was orchestrated. It could have been just one sick individual. I guarantee you he's on some form of prescription medicine. What I would check is if he has any offshore bank accounts. That would be quite interesting. But then again, they're usually not in the person's name. It's in a dummy corporation. But the fact that they're trying to use this as an excuse and blame it on the gun is just wrong. And if you watch my videos, I talk about peace, I talk about love, I talk about higher vibrations, but we also have to talk about reality when it presents itself. And obviously this is news big enough for people to talk about and have an emotion about. It is a tragedy. But to take advantage of that tragedy and take advantage of the people at a time when they're very sad and upset, to put an agenda in front of them, that's where you should be angry. And like I've said in videos I did a year or two ago when there was other tragedies going on, I said if people do not wake up to this stuff is going to happen again. And it's going to continue to happen. This isn't going to be the last time. They're going to continue to do this until eventually they get the Second Amendment abolished. All innocent people will no longer have the rights to their guns, and then it's a free-for-all. And that is why you see all these shootings at places where people cannot defend themselves. Ever notice that? School shootings, movie theater shootings, and now a club. What do they all have in common? They're gun-free zones. So think of the logic. They want to ban guns. But these massacres happen time and time again in already established gun-free zones. Hello, McFly. You think a simpleton as me, an average Joe Schmo nobody that can see that, you don't think your politicians understand this stuff? They can't be that stupid, can they? Which means, if they get it, then there's another reason why they're doing things like this, and the news media is helping push their agenda. If you can't see it by just this title alone, then your head really needs to be pulled out of the sand. And again, as you hear, I'm talking logically, I'm talking with a simple tone, very calm and relaxed. I am taking the emotion out of the equation, and I am speaking purely through logic. We can do that, believe it or not. People get murdered. It's happened throughout history. But when they die in vain, that is wrong. And they die for an agenda. That's even worse. There's so many things that people just take for granted. If you want to go to the news channels and flip to Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel 11, all the other different networks, and see the same thing over and over again from these different networks, they're either psychic, it's a coincidence, or there's a purpose to why they all say the same thing. That's what a script is, and that's why they call them official stories, because like I said in the beginning, once upon a time, Goldilocks and the Three Bears is a story. And if you ever see the news, they list themselves as entertainment. You're being entertained, I guess, with their agendas and their propagandas and their assumptions, because they already know supposedly it's ISIS. But do they know who financed ISIS? Do they know for a fact it's ISIS? It's just amazing how quickly they just happen to have the solution right away. And we keep believing it over and over again. The masses keep falling for the same things, and they're all going to cry out. And I will give Donald Trump a little credit today. I was listening, I was getting my wife's car washed, and I had to wait for, as the car was being washed, Donald Trump was on the news, and he was talking. And he said he wants to protect the Second Amendment. And the fact that that shooting would have been different. He said it himself. The shooting would have been different if people there would have had guns to protect themselves. Now, again, I wish we didn't have a world where we had to be that way. But if you were in a movie theater and you're watching a movie and somebody, some crazy lunatic moron bastard pulls out a gun and starts shooting people, wouldn't you wish you had something to fight back with and stop him? Clip to the head would have ended that really quick. And again, I don't believe everybody should walk around like the Wild Wild West. I mean, there should be training. People, you should have to be trained and certified to be able to know that you can use a gun. You can't have a criminal record. You can't be on any form of medication, like depression medication. So I don't believe everybody should just walk around with shotguns on the side of their back, or handguns at the side of their pocket. I believe there should be responsibilities, training, no criminal record. But if people had the chance to protect themselves, these tragedies would not be as tragic. Now, even one is too many, but just imagine instead of 50, some people with guns shot back, and he only got to maybe 3 people. And maybe of the 3, only 1 was dead, the other 2 were injured. Now again, that's still a tragedy, but that's a lot better than 50. Because they'd have the opportunity to fight back. So they don't want to point out the obvious. They don't want to point out that all these mass shootings happen in places like movie theaters and schools and clubs that are all already gun-free. Ban the country in guns and watch all of these quote-unquote terrorists have a field day picking off people in the streets. Now, this isn't fear porn. This is reality of what could happen if those scenarios happen. It's just disgusting that we even have to talk about these things. But it shows how much hate there is in this world and how many people will benefit from a tragedy. How many newspapers were sold to read that propaganda? It's just disgusting. And that's one of the reasons why I don't even watch the news. The only reason I had it on is because, like I said, I was getting my car washed and I was waiting for it, and I can hear it they had it on the loudspeaker. So it's not like I was sitting there holding my ears. But I will give Donald Trump respect for that. He's at least seeing it for what it truly is. It's just disgusting. But if that's the reality we chose to live in, and obviously if you're listening to this, this is the reality we have, this is part of what the world is, we could face it like responsible people and actually make real change, or allow them to keep controlling things until a point you'll have no freedoms at all. I mean, look what goes on the internet. People, all these trolls that go around. There is a girl that had millions of followers. I don't remember her name, but she recently just got murdered by one of her quote-unquote trolls and haters. Gunned her down. And you see so many of these people, whether it's for fun or stress relief or you get paid to do it, I don't know, nor do I care. Eventually somebody's going to do something where the government is going to step in and say, oh, there's terrorists attacking people on the internet. We got to shut it down. We got to control it. So all of these little kids and all these men and women with too much free time on their hand and too much anger in their hearts, who instead of doing something beneficial or helpful to mankind decide to hurt others for their fun or for profit or for whatever, to relieve boredom, or just because they can, eventually you'll no longer have access to your internet. It will be shut down. Or it will be so regulated or costly that you'll have to be very wealthy to get online for too long a period of time. Be careful what you wish for. There's so much negativity in this world. I mean, I have a channel that basically shares my opinion. I don't force anybody to be here. I don't make anybody believe in my reality. If you want to resonate it, that's one thing. If you choose to listen, it's your own because you resonated with it. You agree with it. I don't force anybody to be here. And yet for years, there are people who will attack me, make fun of me, and assault me. I've had death threats. For what? Having my own right to an opinion? Because you don't agree? But these people eventually will do something to somebody to the point where it will not go unnoticed, and one day governments will come in and shut that down. So just imagine that. A lot of freedom of speech on the internet. Just imagine when they shut that down. A lot of protection with people that still have the right to bear arms. If you know anything about how this country was founded, it was founded by a militia of people who were armed that protected themselves. We didn't have a military. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. It's about protecting yourself against all oppressors, both foreign and domestic. There's a reason why they put that "and domestic" in there, which means governments can turn on their people. If you think that's crazy, you've not researched history. Look up the word genocide and see how many countries and rulers have done that to their own people. They tend to disarm them before they do that. Less resistance that way. So, I mean, you can ignore it. Keep ignoring it. If you think it's going to go away, it's like every time I talk about it. If you don't face the problems that are presented to you, they're going to keep coming back worse and worse. Well, hello? More people had to die. How many more are we going to allow to die? Innocent people had nothing to do with the propaganda these people cause. Because like they say, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. What do they care if a bunch of strangers that mean nothing to them die? That's the sad truth, the sad reality. They don't give a rat's behind about the people who died. They'll go on TV and shed a little fake tear and pretend like they care. And then they go back to their mansions and continue their laws that benefit them financially. You really think they care? Anybody can fake that. Go to a random funeral and start crying and tell them how sorry you are for their loss. It might even seem genuine. But do you think you're going to spend the rest of your life wanting to end it all because some stranger you didn't know passed away? That's the reality. They don't care, but they'll make you think they're there to help you. They'll, when they want to be elected, they're right there to shake your hand and kiss your babies and tell you everything that you want to hear. And then the same stuff happens over and over again. And like I've said, if we're headed towards a utopia, then they're doing a great job. But can anybody show me any proof that we're headed closer to a utopia? Is the world getting better? Is it getting friendlier? Is it getting peacefuler? Is it getting cleaner? Getting cheaper? Getting better? Please somebody show me the proof of any of those things. And if they're the ones supposedly for decades trying to convince you that if you elect that person, they're the ones that are going to make the change. Yes, they'll make change, but they didn't say the change is good, and they didn't say the change is for you, but they'll make general blanket statements that sound good enough for you to applaud. Oh, got to make that change. Yeah, well, check your paychecks. Look at all the jobs they send over to China. Go look at your pocket. I'm sure it's full of change. They're giving you what you say. You're just not paying attention to the actual meaning behind the word. That's why I've had many videos talking about meanings of words. They have more meanings than you think. Law is based on a presumption, an assumption. They're presuming you know what it means, and if you don't, you're SOL. So, again, I want to wish my condolences to anyone in the families and anybody that hopefully survived that. All the pain they must have to go through now. The families that may have found out that their daughter or son were gay by this tragedy. And I can understand the fear that that kind of community has. To be bullied just for your sexual preference. It's just disgusting that there are people that, if you're not harming anyone else. Now, let me just say my position on the gay community. I'm not in agreement with it, but I don't have a problem with it. What somebody else does is none of my business. But I don't have to agree with it. I have the right to say I don't agree with it, but I have no right to stop it or make anybody feel bad. Tonight I DJ at a club, and there are a couple of people that not only are gay, but I know several that are transgenders. And actually, the funny part is, this one transgender, I'll say gentleman, because it's a woman that wants to become a man. and she's getting the body parts altered. And she wants to be referred to as he, but she still looks like a she. When my computer broke down about 6 months ago, none of my other quote-unquote friends even bothered to come and help me. These people who I probably knew at that time, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks tops, and that's just once a week when they came into a bar that I karaoke DJ'd at, actually came out of their way on their days off to come to the place that I was DJing, another place that I was DJing at the time, to fix my computer for free. I love these people. That doesn't mean I have to go sleep with a man or turn into a woman. I see them as human beings. When are we going to get past the labeling? And that person is actually the first transgender, at least that I'm aware of, that I even know. And to me, they're just a normal person. I see them every week. High five them, hug them, hello. Hope their day is going well. The same way I would say it with anybody. Why do we have to label everybody? If you have a personal preference of whatever, as long as you're not harming anyone else, whose right is it for someone else to... I mean, they can make their opinions, like I just made my opinion, but to murder somebody or hurt somebody in any way just because they're doing something different that you believe in, what God you believe in, what religion you believe in, which is the same thing, but what politics, what sexual preference, what color your skin is, when are we going to remember we're all human beings and we stop labeling each other? Do you not understand how divide and conquer works and how easily, still to this day, we're supposed to be bragging these days how technologically advanced. Oh, it's 2016. Yeah, we're still doing things that people have been doing for centuries. We're still labeling people. It just blows my mind that, again, I'm just a nobody. I'm just a Joe Schmo regular person, and I can get it. How others cannot. And I know the majority of people that watch my videos do get it. But as you could see by my view counts, I'm not reaching millions of people. Why? Because I don't use fear porn. I don't use clickbait titles. I don't use pictures of naked women to get people to click on the video. I don't do sub for sub, going to each channel saying, oh, please sub me and I'll sub you. And I don't do reaction videos or dancing kittens. I talk about reality and real. And I also talk about things that can actually help escalate your mind consciously, if you so choose to resonate with it. So I'm not going to get a lot of people paying attention to my message, which is sad. And there have been people that labeled me the crazy one. Go figure. So this is a long video. If you watched this far, right here, where I'm highlighting this word right here, type that in so I know you watched this far. And if you didn't, it's okay, because you're obviously not hearing this at this point anyway. I have a lot to say. And again, you don't have to agree with it. You don't even have to like it. Just respect the fact that I have the right to do it. Because be careful what you wish for, people. There's so many people that are so politically correct these days and so sensitive about everything that they want everything banned. One day, everybody will look the same. Everybody will be genetically cloned to be the same person. There'll be no difference between genders. We will lose our right to free speech, our right to protect ourselves. We will have everything governed for us. And then you could watch the movie 1984, and that will be a documentary. Be careful what you wish for, you may get it. If you can't see it at this point, I can understand years ago when I first started this channel, and my other channel that I deleted because of the trolls that were harassing me. I can understand back then maybe people, oh, you're paranoid, or oh, you're crazy. Look at the writing on the wall since then. How many of the things that I've predicted are actually happening? I must either be a good guesser, which doesn't help me winning the lottery, or I'm kind of onto something. I'll let you decide. And you'll see, I'll get the thumbs down. I'll probably have some comments I'll have to delete from ignorant people who don't even watch and don't even listen and can't have an actual rational conversation. They just love to hate because they have a personal vendetta against me. Those are the people, the minority, that are going to shut down everything for the majority. Why? Because the majority is too afraid to say anything for fear of judgment. One day, you will lose that opportunity that you do take for granted. And again, I'm not really talking about the people watching this. I'm talking about the 99% that don't and never will. I hope people prove me wrong. So again, if you took the time to listen to this message, I thank you. I hope you all have a wonderful and safe day. Do not live in fear, and do not allow yourself to be programmed. Be your own individual. Pay attention. Use your logic and emotion when it serves you best. And let people live their lives. Leave them alone. If they're not hurting you or doing anything that hurts others, if there are consenting people doing consenting things that they agreed to, let them pray to who they want. Let them love who they want. Because whether you're gay or straight, if you found somebody you can love, that's a beautiful thing. And instead, there are people who want to hurt them because of their sexual preference, the color of their skin, the religions that they worship, their beliefs, their YouTube videos. I've had people that want to kill me because of my YouTube videos. And I'm the crazy one. Thanks for listening. Leave your comments. Hit subscribe if you'd like to. Please share this video. Please watch it with other people that might be angry about the things they see in the television. That's why you're watching programs. You know what a program is? If you want to be programmed, if you want to be told how to think, keep believing this stuff. Be careful what you wish for. You may get it. Thanks for watching. Be safe. I'll see you next time.